Greetings everybody, this is Leviathan here, and today, yes, you see this in front of you on screen, it's Diablo Immortal. So I know a lot of people in stream and around the internet have been asking, like, what in the world's going on with Diablo Immortal? We saw stuff about it in BlizzCon 2018, haven't heard anything since. You know, the community's reaction, not so great. So, you know, in the aftermath of now having Diablo 4 released, it feels like maybe the time is right to get some Diablo Immortal stuff going, and I was able to get access to some early footage here. I have all sorts of things I want to share with you guys today. The game is in technical alpha, and so what that means is a very limited release for people to test and get in there and try some things out that the developers want us to see and experience. It starts, as you're watching this video, December 17th, 6 p.m. Eastern, that's my time, 3 p.m. Pacific Blizzard time. So you're probably going to start to see streams of this game and all sorts of people with comments and videos and things about it. As I go through and play, I'll also come back with some updates and stuff if you guys want that. Definitely hop in the comments, let me know what you're looking for or excited about when it comes to Diablo Immortal. I'll try to provide you with that content. The testing period here is just for the early and the mid-game systems and the leveling process that they want us to particularly test. So they limited the level that we can get to for max from normally 60 to 45, and that's mainly to just give us access to, you know, it's like they said, the early stuff, get into some of the systems, get into some of the gear, things like that, get them some feedback. And another thing to keep in mind too is that it's a super limited alpha, so you may not be able to get access to it if you've pre-registered and whatnot. I think they're mainly trying to concentrate on Australia as the region of test. So if you're down under, maybe you're one of the lucky ones that got access. As this B-roll is going, I'll eventually show you some screenshots and things as well. We'll go through a slideshow of those. I'll just let the B-roll go. And the one thing I want to mention here is that there's a lot of things that we got from a pre-brief, a press sort of pre-brief of what to expect sort of as we go through this technical alpha and then the latest updates to the game. So I'm going to do a lot of talking here. There are open world zones, and this is where we'll do our typical main quest progression, but there will also be things like side quests and pop-up events that you're going to find spontaneously. And one of the things that they mentioned were these zone trials, very similar that in my mind to the world events that we saw for Diablo 4, which are going to be like the big world bosses. You basically want to gather a bunch of people from the zone together to come and fight this big boss, essentially. So that's sort of the zone trials, this unique objective that'll be in zones like world bosses that they want us to be aware of and go and fight. There are also dungeons, as you guys should expect. You can do them solo or in parties, and you can also go to higher difficulties for better rewards. Groups will have a better chance at doing that because you're more powerful in a group than you are solo. And one of the exciting dungeons that they wanted us to know about was bringing back the Countess, which you guys may remember from Diablo 2. We wanted runes, we went to the Countess. She was the one to hunt down and try to get those juicy runes from her. So there's a bit of a return of just the awesomeness of her. So that's pretty cool to see. And then they mentioned that they explicitly were using the term massive multiplayer MMO for the aspects of the game. So they're wholly embracing the fact that this is sort of styled as an MMO ARPG. And Westmarch will be the capital city of our MMO, if you will. So that's where you're going to go and see other players. You're going to be, trading stuff there. You're going to be accessing your stash, upgrading gear at the blacksmith and all that sort of stuff. So it's like your town hub for everything that you're going to want to do. There's going to be difficulty systems in the game, normal, nightmare, and hell. You'll progress through those as you get to higher level. You can turn those up, and what it does will upgrade enemies across the entire world. So like anytime you're doing just in these different zones, the open world zones and stuff, that's how you'll increase the difficulty of those enemies, and it will also make them more rewarding. So the things that they drop will be better for you. And it does not affect another system that we'll talk about, which is Elder Riffs. And you can think of them very similarly in Diablo 3 as Greater Riffs. Another thing to mention here is that there are bounties, and these you can actually think of as similar to Hearthstone and the sort of daily quest that you get from Hearthstone. And you only will get, I think I saw 4 of them, and then you'll kind of get that for your day. And if you do those, you'll be out of them, but they'll refresh, and then the next day you'll be able to do some more. That's the end of our B-roll there. So we'll go ahead and pull up some of these photos. We'll put them in a slideshow for you. And so you'll just be able to see, you know, some of the things that we're talking about as we're going through here. And you can obviously pause and check anything out that interests you in particular. So that I thought was pretty interesting. You can re-roll them as well. So if there's some bounties that you don't like or ones that you just don't prefer to do, you can re-roll those and then take on a different bounty. It looked like you get a cap of 12 as well. And again, you'll see more of this as we get alpha footage and things like that. When I get to play a little bit more, because I got a new phone earlier this week, but I did not get a chance to play very much at all. And I'm still getting into the whole like recording mobile and everything. It's going to be an interesting experience to say the least. But I just want to make this super informational for you guys, give you as much info as possible. So there's the bounty system, and it's different from Diablo 3 in that you just get a limited amount of bounties. When they're done for the day, they're done. And then you move on to other things like your Elder Riffs and such, which we'll talk about in just a second. Next is the Horadric Beastiary. This thing I thought was pretty cool. So it's another sort of progression system that's in the game. When you complete it, you'll get more powerful for your character. And you have to go and find like all the different enemies in the game and kill a certain amount of them. And they'll add entries to your Beastiary, which helps your character get more powerful. And what they let us know was that there are actually more enemies in Immortal than there are in D3. So there's going to be a lot for us to hunt down and find. So it's kind of one of these nice like completionist goals, another track of how to make your character better. So that's something to look out for. It should be pretty cool. I keep mentioning this and I will finally talk about it. Elder Riffs. So again, they're like greater Riffs. They're sort of these short randomized dungeon experiences, and they're infinite. There's no lockout. There's no energy system here as far as like, you know, might understand from standard mobile practices. You can do these as much as you want. And they're, you know, greater Riffs. So you fill up the bar. When you kill elites, you get more progression. And then eventually a boss spawns once you move that bar from left to right. And then you kill the enemy, and boom, you get rewards. And the main rewards here are gold and experience. And there is a way to power these up, which we'll talk about later on down the line. Challenge Rifts are also in the game, but these are very different from Diablo 3. So you know what Challenge Rifts are from Diablo 3, probably, if you're new to Diablo, if you're seeing all this stuff for the first time. We won't even dive into that because you don't need to know what they are. In Diablo Immortal, it's a randomized run every time that you do it, and you'll use your own character to do them. And the idea here is that every time that you beat a new tier of Challenge Rift, you get a reward that's associated with the tier. And then, even better, there are rewards at the end of each week that you'll get based on how well you did on the leaderboard. So it actually promotes you to try and do better and better and better, competing against other players to get better rewards. And that's huge. That's been a pretty big kind of complaint or wished for change that we saw for Challenge Rifts. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Just, you know, the iteration from D3 to Immortal seems like Challenge Rifts are going to be in a really awesome spot. Next we'll talk, so those are sort of systems. Those are things that are in the game and should be interesting to take on and utilize. Next is items. We'll talk about items. So the main thing that they wanted to emphasize initially for us was that all your gear that you get will be self-found. You'll never trade for it. You can't buy it. So it's just the jewelry, the armor, the weapons, everything your character wears. Those are all self-found. And they, you know, because of, you know, the way that people obviously approach mobile, sometimes they think they'll be pay to win things and such. They wanted to really specify that. There will be other things that you can trade though, like gems, and we'll talk about those in just a moment. So there are 13 inventory slots when it comes to Diablo Immortal, and you can see those on screen right now. The ones that were on the right there are your main slots, and those are helm, chest, shoulder, legs, main hand, and offhand. And then the other slots are sort of deemed as secondary slots, and they'll actually have gem sockets in them, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You also, in your regular main slots, those 6 I just mentioned, still have your typical gem sockets, like in your helm, your chest, and your pants. And we'll talk about some exciting things for that in just a moment. So these gems, these are tradable, like we mentioned. There's just going to be normal gems in the game, red, yellow, blue. And you can actually level them up by combining lower level gems into higher ones. Pretty typical, like in Diablo 3. And they get just different effects, and, you know, you can use them to be defensive, offensive, you know, more damage, more life, things like that. Pretty standard. When it comes to legendary gems, they exclusively go into your primary armor. So remember those slots I was talking about, like the helm, the chest, and the pants, the legs. and they have to be legendary pieces of gear before you can socket legendary gems into them. And you can, if you're doing the math, if you're thinking about it, the typical gems, 1 in the helm, 3 in the chest, 2 in the pants, means you can have 6 legendary gems. And legendary gems are pretty crazy in this game, as they're telling us. They're going to significantly change the way that you play the game, your gameplay, your skills, your battle. Like, they should be really exciting to find and utilize. So that's really cool. And you can have 6 of them, which is literally double what we have in Diablo 3 right now. So that's pretty cool. And I'm pretty excited to see how those will play out. Exactly how, like, with 6 of those running at once, it seems like a lot of modifiers on stuff. So it could be pretty cool. The unwanted gear that you find, just to talk about gear overall in general, gear and items, you can salvage them for crafting materials, and you can use those to upgrade the items that you actually do care about, likely the ones that you're wearing. So there's a ranking system. You can rank all your gear up. The highest rank you can get an item to is 20, and every 5 ranks, the item will get a random affix on it. So think of like your typical like magical property, you know, cooldown reduction, or, you know, a chance to, I don't even know, immobilize an enemy, something like that, right? Like your standard affixes. Those will all start to randomly pop up on your gear as you level it up. Now, obviously, random means you might get a bunch of stuff that you don't want. How do you fix that? Well, there is going to be a currency item in the game called a Reforged Stone, and those drop. Any player can get access to them as you play the game, and they just allow you to re-roll those affixes so that you can get from random ones on an item that you like. Maybe you have one affix that you really like, and you're trying to get 2 others, but the 2 ones you have currently just suck. Then you can use the Reforge Stones to change those out, and eventually, hopefully, get to the end result that you're looking for. So that's in the game. We talked about legendary gems, and then there's something else here, which is the 13th slot that we hadn't talked about. So there's the 6 main ones, the 6 other ones like jewelry and all the other trinkets and things. There is a charm slot, and this slot is supposed to be really intriguing because it's another sort of slot you can work on in order to progress your character. It lets you rank up skills for your class. That's what a charm actually does. So you can get bonus skill ranks for up to 5 of your skills, and you can customize your charm. It's supposed to be a very long-term way to progress. They were telling us that this is not for the faint of heart, apparently. So for us grinders that are going to be playing lots and lots of hours, this is the thing that we're going to be targeting and working on. I'm pretty excited about that, of course, as somebody that loves to grind incessantly. So that should be pretty cool, and you're going to use crafting materials and things to work on your charm as well. Now, another thing to talk about is the player-to-player market. So this is where trade will happen, and it's decidedly not the D3 auction house. They put that up front to let us know, you know, don't think about the auction house when you think about this player-to-player market. There's no gear sold here, again, re-emphasizing that, but you will be able to buy and sell crafting materials that'll help you customize your charms, your gems, and your legendary gems. The transactions are anonymous, and there's no way to cash out, so like it's not supposed to profit bots or anything like that. You don't know who you're trading to, so hopefully it avoids exploits and such. And apparently you'll only be able to sell at a market rate. Not sure how this current market rate gets set. I guess maybe there'll be some trends being tracked by the game, and so that could be potentially interesting. But that is, you know, the way that you'll be able to trade items somewhat limitedly, but has that system in there. So that's kind of an interesting difference from what we had in Diablo 3, where there's essentially next to no trade unless you're in a game with players for a couple hours. There will be a Paragon system in the game, which I know may rub some people the wrong way here, perhaps, and it essentially does work similar to Diablo 3 in that you'll have a max level system, right, or post max level system. So you get to max level, which typically is 60, but for the technical alpha it's 45, and there are going to be Paragon trees with different focuses. So you might have like a survivability tree, a gear hunting tree, just a damage one. They're going with 4 for technical alpha, but there are more planned at launch. And from the sounds of it, it didn't seem like you'd be able to access all of them all at once in terms of like put all the points into all the trees and that's it, right? Like I think you can, I think you'll have to make some choices, which should be good, on exactly what you're going to be speccing into and whatnot. And I think you can only have 1 tree active at a time, if I recall correctly. But again, we'll see what Technical Alpha shows us. This is just from kind of some follow-up questions that we had. So, the Paragon's in the game. It sounds like it's going to be a little different than Diablo 3's version. We'll have to see how much we like it or dislike it. And again, all this stuff is, you know, up for discussion, up for change, feedback. So we'll definitely have to sound off on anything that we like a lot or dislike a lot. And, you know, hopefully we can affect some great change to make the game as good as possible when it finally comes out. So we'll talk about some of the last remaining things here. How much will Diablo Immortal cost, right? That's one of the main things you probably want to know. It's going to be free to play. And there will be optional in-game purchases. So kind of a standard format for some mobile games where you have unfettered access to play it. Like they mentioned, you'll have the ability to run like Elder Riffs all day long. Lots of stuff like the content itself is not going to be locked behind any sort of currency or extra payments or anything like that. You get all the content, the story, and the classes will be available to play for free, always. And then there will be purchasable items. So here's where maybe it can get a little sketchy, perhaps. We'll have to see how you guys feel about this. And I'm not even sure how I feel on it just yet. I'm kind of still thinking about my opinions on it. So there are Crests. These are purchasable items, and you can use them to enhance your Elder Riffs. So it basically adds a modifier to your Elder Riff. It can make it more challenging, like monsters will explode on death, you know, give the monsters some sort of modifiers to make them harder, or it could even make the Elder Rift easier for you, like it could reduce your cooldowns and things like that. So the other side of this is that it'll change your experience in the Elder Rift, but it'll also reward you better from the Elder Rift as well too. So like I mentioned previously, the main thing you're getting from Elder Rifts without any modifiers to it are golden experience, but when you put these crests in, they'll also become more rewarding as well. So it's sort of like if you want to enhance it, then you can purchase these crests and get even more out of your Elder Rifting. And then when we were talking about Reforged Stones, right? So these are the things that you can use to make your gear have the affixes that you care about. And there's a whole RNG system. You'll see the whole affix pools as you're trying to reforge through them. And you imagine this pool is quite big, so it's going to take you a lot of time perhaps to get to the perfectly crafted item. What the specialized Reforged Stones that you can purchase will do is actually cut down the pool. So they're specialized in, I think, like some of the examples where like there might be a lightning one or a fire one, right? Or you're going to get modifiers that specifically aim towards what you might want your item to eventually come out with. And so it's kind of allowing you to have more control of the outcomes, like essentially less RNG if you decide to purchase these Reforged Stones. And that means you can get to better items faster. Now, does that toe the line on like pay to win? I wouldn't necessarily call it pay to win, I don't think. It's like, I don't know. I think this is one where I definitely would like to hear from you guys on it, what your thoughts and comments will be. Because I could definitely see pushback. I can see both sides of it. I can see pushback on it, and I can see why the developers want it to be that way in terms of providing value. So we'll see kind of where that goes. And then last but not least, there's a battle pass. And so there's a free battle pass that players will have. It's a monthly sort of tracking system, and it'll get refreshed each month. And as you do the game, it'll provide you with content and rewards, and you'll complete it and progress through it through gameplay within Diablo Immortal. There is so I mentioned the free version, the free track, and then there's also a paid track, which will just give you additional rewards on top of the free stuff you can get as you play through Diablo Immortal. So it's another way to sort of layer on extra reward if you want it when you're doing your battle pass, which everyone will have initial access to anyway. So that's the big rundown on the technical alpha for Diablo Immortal. A lot of word soup, a lot of word spew. Definitely hop into the comments. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about Immortal. Are your views softened on it in the wake of Diablo 4 coming? Are you going to try it? Obviously, technical alpha is not, you know, the ability to access it freely. But just where are your thoughts at after hearing all this and the updates and such? How do you think it looks? And as you watch streams and stuff, definitely pop in. Again, let me know what sorts of things you might want some of my content to focus on, and I'll try to provide that to you. Make sure you sub so that you don't miss any of that future content. We'll get you more stuff. Until next time, everybody, I really appreciate you watching the video. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next one. Adios for now.